Hi, this is Chapter 1, Part 3 of The Heart of the Matter, A Case for Meaning in a Material World by Bob Edwards. This section is called False Analogies. So we don't have to choose between ways of knowing the world. Different methods yield different results, but each result is valid and valuable. Many of us become so fond of our favorite method of seeing that we forget this. And as Lynn Margulis said, our outlooks shape what we see and how we know. Since we prefer using science or reason or logic, we see a material world. Since we prefer religion or faith or emotion, we find a meaningful one. But is this necessary? Must a scientifically minded person see only materialism? Must a spiritually oriented person see only meaning? Chapter 1, Figure 1-2. Our outlook shapes what we see. Half full or half empty? I believe the answer is no. When we equate one way of looking at the world with material principles and another with the principle of meaning, we create a false analogy. Our interest in science or religion, or our use of logic or emotion, doesn't force us to choose between a material perspective and a meaningful one. These false analogies distract us from considering the principles of matter and meaning clearly. For example, equating science exclusively with mechanics and religion exclusively with values is a false analogy. To say that all scientists must abandon values or that all theologians must ignore material principles is clearly false. A science devoid of any values is a frightening prospect. It's true that the scientific method involves studying the mechanics of events, not their meaning. Yet there is a definite aesthetic sense in science. Many scientists are largely motivated by a sense of wonder and must consider beauty to be one sign of a good theory. In addition, a good scientist holds truth as the highest value in science. To suggest that truth has no meaning would make science pointless. At the same time, religion deals with the mechanics of the world as well as its values. The Roman Catholic Church, for example, receives many reports of miracles from places like Lourdes. Each of these claims is subjected to considerable critical scrutiny, including detailed medical analysis. Almost all such claims are rejected, despite their meaningfulness to the people involved, because there are adequate physical explanations for them. Religion does not have to use meaning as its only guidepost. To be a scientist doesn't mean having no personal values. A scientist does not have to be unfamiliar with love or honor or decency. And to be a religious professional doesn't mean to be ignorant of physical principles. A monk, priest, or rabbi doesn't have to be incapable of driving a car or changing its oil. The fact that professionals in either area may specialize in certain issues doesn't mean that their approach to life must be unbalanced. Likewise, identifying reason exclusively with the material world and faith exclusively with the meaningful world is a misguided analogy. The idea that reason has nothing to say about values and faith has no relationship to the material world is surely wrong. We should use our reason to help us examine our values. I'm going to say that again because that's a good one. We should use our reason to help us examine our values, not only just to discuss mechanics. For example, reason helps us to see that there are more important values than immediate self-gratification. And faith helps us out in our daily approach to the physical world. It's faith in mechanical principles that gets us into cars and boats and airplanes, not mere rational analysis. Mathematical demonstrations alone don't convince people that it's okay to expect a heavy metal object to float or to fly. It takes the confidence and trust that comes from experience. And, as in the previous cases, an analogy between logic and mechanics, on the one hand, and emotions and values, on the other, doesn't hold. Emotion plays as important a part in practical daily decisions as logic does. On the other hand, logic should help us to see where our values are limited or in conflict and need more development. A logical person should not be devoid of values, an appreciation of beauty, for example. Anyone who can contemplate the physical world without some sense of wonder is not paying attention. Next time, I will start with Chapter 1, Section 4, The Harmony of Opposites.